Guys, we are on chapter 6 of self-therapy workbook. Okay, so we are going to be checking for self-leadership and unblending from concerned parts today. What is self-leadership? As described earlier, being in self means that you are experiencing one or more of the self qualities as your present state. If you feel compassionate, curious, or caring, you are experiencing self-leadership or are in self, as IFS calls it. In other words, the real you is sitting in the seat of consciousness. From this place, it is safe to proceed to get to know the target part. Why check for self leadership? Usually, when we are aware of parts of ourselves, we evaluate them. We embrace the parts that we like and approve of, and we often identify with parts that we see as positive. We reject the parts that we see as problematic. IFS encourages us to do neither, but instead to be open and interested in getting to know each part of ourselves. To do this effectively, we want to be in self. Concerned part. A concerned part is a part that is blended with self that has concerns about the target part. It interferes with your ability to be in self with respect to the target part. See illustration on next page. Concerned parts have agendas and opinions. If, for example, you feel angry or judgmental toward the target part or scared of it, or if you want to get rid of it, the attitude is coming from another part. It is important to identify these parts in order to make open contact with the target part from self. Concerned part in the seat of consciousness. How do you check for concerned parts? In IFS, you ask the magic question, how do I feel toward the target part now? Then you allow space inside and see what comes up. The question is not meant to elicit an evaluation of the part or your opinion about it. The purpose is to find out how you feel emotionally toward the part. You're not asking how you feel toward the part in general or at other times when it is activated, only how you feel toward it right now as you are making contact with it. Self in the seat of consciousness, focusing on the concerned part. So this is concerned part in the seat of consciousness. So it looks like that, guys. Then we have self in the seat of consciousness, focusing on the concerned part. Okay. Unblending from a concerned part. Before you can work effectively on the target part, you need to unblend from the concerned parts so that you can be in self with the target part. So self in the seat of consciousness, focusing on the target part looks like this. So this is the ideal, guys. Okay. Being in self with the target part. You are in self when you feel open, curious, compassionate, or appreciative toward the target part. Examples of these experiences might be open. I feel nothing special. There's a spaciousness where my concerned part used to be. I am neutral and ready to engage. Curious. I feel separate from the part and genuinely interested in who it is and what it has to tell or teach me. Compassionate. I can see more clearly who this part is, what it has been holding, and why it has behaved the way it has. Appreciative. I see how hard this part has been working for me. I understand in this moment why it is here and the job it has been doing. All right, exercise. Unblending from a concerned part. For this exercise, choose a protector that you don't like or have some strong feelings about. For example, you might have a part that gets angry easily and interferes with your relationships with friends, or you might have a part that eats too much even though you're trying to be healthy or watch your weight. You would naturally have reactions to parts like these. You might judge them or be angry at them and want to get rid of them. You might also feel distant from them or scared of them. Any of these attitudes that arise are coming from a concerned part of you. Take a moment to choose a protector part that you are interested in knowing more about. First, access the protector step part 1, page 15, and then unblend as much as you can from it. Step part 2, page 27. This protector will be your target part. Take note of what is going on in your body and how the part is responding to you as you come in contact with it. Ask the magic question, how do I feel toward the target part now? What do you notice? Anger, frustration, wanting to be the part to go away? Any of these responses is a concerned part. Fill in the chart with your answers. Okay, so we have self, and then 3 concerned parts and the target part. And you got to name them. Sorry, I'll keep that there a little longer, guys. Okay. All right. If you happen to feel open, curious, or compassionate about the part, you are probably in self. Since the exercise asked you to choose a part that you have difficulty with, coming from self at this point in the exercise is unlikely. Sample, unblending from a concerned part. So we have the three parts under the self. Concerned part 1 is anger. Your feeling is I hate it. Concerned part 2 is frustration. Your feeling is I wish you would go away. Concerned part 3 is needy, and I can't live without it. Target part, perfectionist. So these are the examples. Asking concerned parts to relax. Ask the concerned part if it would be willing to step aside or relax just for now so you can get to know the target part from an open place. The concerned part may agree or disagree. 1. Concerned part willing to relax. If it agrees, you may feel a shift in your body, such as relaxing or an opening. You may see an image of the part moving away. You may hear the part's voice saying that it will relax, or it may do some negotiating about its willingness to step aside or relax. As each part in your original list relaxes, ask again, how do I feel toward the target part? Sometimes it's helpful to say something like, now that the anger and frustration have stepped aside, how do I feel toward the part? If you find another concerned part, repeat the process until you are in self and you feel a sense of open space, curiosity, or compassion. From here, you can begin to get to know the target part from a place of self. 2. Concerned part unwilling to relax. If a concerned part isn't willing to step aside, you can explain to it the value of stepping aside. You might say something like, I sincerely want to help this part, target part. I see that it needs healing. I want to get to know it. I recognize that the only way to do that effectively is from an open, curious place. I would appreciate it if you would allow me the space to make contact with it from this place of self. Listen carefully to the concerned part's fears and reassure it. See page 32 for part's typical fears. Switching target parts. If the concerned part still won't step aside, make the concerned part the new target part and work with it as above. Go through all the steps, step part 2 to part 5. Once you have cleared the way, you may decide to return to the original target part or continue to work with the new target part. This is often a decision for your entire internal system. You may want to stop and ask all the parts you have been working with, what is the best way to proceed? Wait a moment for an answer. The truth of what is best for you now will usually emerge. Sitting on the sidelines, it is okay for the concerned part to watch from the sidelines and step in if it thinks there is danger. If you make this promise to the part, make sure to notice if it returns, acknowledge it, and find out its concerns. Not sure if concerned part stepped aside. If you're not sure whether it stepped aside, proceed with getting to know the target part and see what happens. You may later realize that you need to unblend some more or work with this or another concerned part. How to know that the concerned part hasn't stepped aside. The target part isn't responding to questions, is stonewalling, or can't be accessed. When you ask about its behavior, it says it doesn't trust you. You are using your mind to figure out the target part rather than asking it questions. Okay. Rather than asking questions, the questions you are asking have a judgmental or accusatory tone. You don't understand why the target part is doing what it is doing. You aren't succeeding in developing a trusting relationship with the target part. Oh my God! Exercise, mapping your parts. I'm going to freaking unplug you. Mapping your parts. Many people find it very helpful to map their parts. Mapping can clarify relationships between parts Flesh out the number of parts at a trailhead. Illuminate the protective system. Illustrate which parts are central to the system and which are peripheral. Show where parts stand in terms of their relationship to the self, and much more. Mapping can be done when you are just beginning to get to know your system. You can check in periodically with the original map to see how things have changed. As you keep working, you can also use parts mapping as an ongoing tool for visually tracking your internal work and deciding where to focus your attention. There are many ways to map your system. One way is to use a large sheet of paper and write down the names or images of the parts as you know them. You can draw lines or arrows to illustrate the relationships. Here is my favorite way to map your system. Start with a large sheet of newsprint paper. Put a heart in the top center and write your name in it. This represents the self. Work with at least 2 colors of sticky notes. I like to use one color for protectors and a different color for exiles. If you have a heart-shaped sticky note for the self, all the better. Start by writing the names of parts on sticky notes as you think of them or feel them, and put the notes randomly on the paper. If you have a sense that a part is a protector and another is an exile, use the appropriate colors. As things become clearer, you can change colors. Once all the parts are on the paper, sit back and look it over. I recommend doing a centering exercise to get into self so you can view the parts from that place. If it feels right, take a few deep breaths with your hand on your belly. Now begin to move the sticky notes to reflect the relationships between the parts. Which parts are allied and work together? Which parts are polarized and fight each other? Which parts hide? Which parts protect the other parts? Which ones are concerned parts that would block the self from getting to know a target part? Once you have rearranged the parts, sit back again and reflect. Have you become aware of any other parts? Add them. Now, how does it look and feel? Notice any shifts in your emotional state or body awareness once you have the map in front of you. Do you see a clear entry point where you want to begin your investigation? Do you see parts that need the help and resources of the self? Okay, guys, I'm just going to hop in with chapter 7 because it's just 3 pages. Okay, so part 4, getting to know a protector. Normally in therapy, when people work with a part, they either analyze it intellectually or dive into it emotionally. IFS encourages us to do something different from either of those. When using the IFS model, we stay in self and make contact with the part from there. We get to know the part by asking it questions and listening to its responses. The part may give us information in the form of words, images, body sensations, emotions, or a sense of direct knowing. Exercise, getting to know a protector. Choose a protector part that you are interested in getting to know. It might be one that is present right now in this moment, or you may access it as described in chapter 4. See what information is readily available about this protector, how it feels in your body, what it looks like, and what it says. On the next page is a list of possible questions to ask the protector. See which questions are appropriate for this part at this time. You can fill in the part's answers on the page or on a separate piece of paper. There is also space for you to write other questions that flow naturally from your discussion or that feel important to you. When the part gives an answer that piques your curiosity, follow it up. For example, if the part says, I want to keep safe, you might ask, what do you want to keep safe from? Or who do you want to keep safe? Be gentle and don't interrogate the part. Allow time for its answers to unfold naturally and just insert questions to facilitate the process. Name of the part or role that it serves. Naming a part. It may be useful to have a name for the part, which could be a descriptive phrase, a person's name, name of a character, or anything else. Make sure the part names itself. The name can change at any time in the future as your understanding of the part evolves. Questions to help you get to know your part. What do you do? What is your role in my system? What would you like me to call you? What do you feel? What makes you feel so feeling? How do you relate to people? How do you interact with other parts? How do you feel about an external event or feeling? What do you want for us? What do you hope to accomplish by doing your role? What are you afraid would happen if you didn't do your role? What are you afraid we would feel or do if you didn't do your role? How long have you been doing your role? What caused you to take on this role? And when did you start? How do you feel about your role? What would you like from me? Other question, answer, other question, answer. So come up with your own. Getting a felt sense of a part. This part might not answer your questions with clear, explicit descriptions. Allowing a felt sense of the part or an image of the part to emerge can be particularly important and informative. It's fine if you start out with vague images or body sensings, such as folded over on itself, a sense of poignancy, narrowing in the chest, or an empty sack. Greet these sensory pieces of information with an open heart and sincere curiosity. Let the part know what you see or feel. For example, I see that you are collapsed and empty, or I notice that you're tense and seem anxious. As you stay with the part or ask more questions, the part's unique nature will become clearer. Take your time and don't push for clarity. It will emerge. Note any subtle images or vague sensations that you notice when getting to know this part. Sample, getting to know a protector. Name of the part or role that it serves. Angry part. When someone unjustly criticizes me or misinterprets my behavior, I get angry and attack them. Questions to help you get to know your part. What do you do? Protect you. What is your role in my system? Keep bad people away. What would you like me to call you? The White Knight. What do you feel? Angry, mad, frustrated. What makes you feel so angry? Stupid, heartless, thoughtless people. How do you relate to people? I keep them away. What do you say? Get out of here. How do you interact with other parts? Protect them. How do you feel about this current situation? When other don't take responsibility for their behavior or feelings, I get angry. What do you want for us? To be safe, happy, and free. What do you hope to accomplish by using anger to protect? That we will stay away from bad people. What are you afraid would happen if you didn't use anger to protect? We would get hurt. What are you afraid we would feel or do if you didn't use anger to protect? Be friends with the wrong people. How long have you been using anger to protect? Since I was a little girl. What caused you to take on this role and when did you start? Being criticized as a child. How do you feel about your role? I like it and it's important. What do you want from me? Love and acknowledgement and appreciation. Okay, guys, so we will get into chapter 8. Looks very long. And 9 looks very short. So we'll probably do 8 and 9 next time. Later.